This is an introduction to some of the important themes for Girls on Fire, gender, culture, injustice, and YA dystopia, but also to girls and YA dystopia more generally. In this course, we're going to take a critical interdisciplinary approach, which combines American studies, English, and women's gender and sexuality studies. We want to ask critical analysis questions. We want to think about the America of the future that these books are envisioning. And we also want to think about the protagonists as more than just a girl. Maybe she's a hero, a rebel, an archer, a daughter, a sister. Gender, culture, and justice is really an umbrella term that encompasses a lot of other themes that we're going to be looking at. As we think about the Girl on Fire, we might think about some of the identity and character norms, and this is available as a handout for you as well. So as we think about the Girl on Fire, who's often taking on roles that are reserved for boys, like adventure and action and fighting and infiltrating and leading and surviving and rescuing and solving puzzles, creating social change, facing down corruption. We want to think about that different kind of gender portrayal. We might think about her age and her class, sexuality, ability, and race. And we're going to look at these things more closely all throughout our books and all throughout the semester as different themes that were going on. When we think about gender, we're talking about a socially constructed idea that does not always follow biology. So cisgender is the term that's used for gender that matches up with your sex organs, transgender being the opposite of that. In this book, our focus is on girls, but there's other categories that will be important as well. So again, our female protagonists are a mix of masculine and feminine. Girls interact with boys and women and men. Boys are often the love interest or main characters in the books as well, sometimes even sharing narration. And men are often the enforcers of patriarchal authority, but women represent such authority as well. Culture can be a nebulous term that has many different definitions and understandings, so we'll be looking at that bigger picture of American culture. We'll also be looking at culture as time, place, community, as race, ethnicity, socioeconomic class, and nationality, and culture as these books find pop culture applications. So for instance, when the Hunger Games came out, a lot of women enrolled in archery classes. And we have, for instance, Hunger Games themed birthday cakes and any other variety of pop culture applications. Justice can be considered narrowly, but when we're talking about justice in this class and in these books, we're talking about social justice, that which is worth fighting for. So the Girls on Fire are often fighting for the oppressed, the powerless, the poor, hungry and neglected, the abused, the deluded. In the book specifically, the factionless, the outsiders, the tributes, the discarded, diseased, and displaced. When we think about power, we're thinking about the absolute power of the hegemon, but also the power and empowerment of our female protagonists. When we look at race and identity, we're going to consider a variety of different aspects, including an online community discussion, often referred to as RaceFail 09, which considered arguments about representations of race in science fiction, which continues to be predominantly white. In science fiction, speculative fiction, YA dystopia, race is often assumed unimportant or it's set aside because it will be different in the future. Characters are often de facto white or shades of brown. And as the pictures represent here, we have Jennifer Lawrence, who plays Katniss Everdeen, who in real life is blonde and has a lot of different looks. And she has a lot of different looks in the film as well, but she transforms into this Girl on Fire character who is in fact brunette and maybe even darker than Jennifer Lawrence herself is. Oftentimes, the representations in films or book covers can shape expectations of the way a character looks. So for instance, there's a lot of controversy over Rue as she was portrayed in the film. A lot of people thought that she wasn't actually a black character, but the way she's described in the book is certainly open for interpretation. We have the Partial series, where Kira is certainly a girl of color, overtly discussed, with a father of Indian heritage, and yet on the book covers here, she looks like she could just be a white girl with dark hair, depending upon the picture. And then we also have the Tankborn series by Karen Sandler, who's actually a white author, but very overtly discusses race. Her protagonist is definitely not white and is set in a future India. So some books offer overt discussions of race as an aspect of identity and culture, if not also plot, and we'll think about them. In terms of sexuality, it's often mixed up with love and romance. It's often experienced as pleasure or danger. Sometimes it's off-screen or post-narrative. We might ask questions like, should books for teens include sex? Some of them do, some of them don't. Sometimes we even have empowering examples of self-discovery and acceptance of queer sexualities, but not often. And the funny cartoon here kind of queers the Hunger Games, as Katniss is like, what the? Gale and Peeta are like, sorry, tired of waiting for you. There's a lot of other themes as well that overlap with these: violence, love and romance, family and friendship, community, coming of age, land and resources. So when we're thinking about the girl on fire, we're thinking about her as more than just beautiful, more than just a lover, more than who her lovers are, more than just the symbol of the rebellion, more than just a fighter. These girls on fire are so much more. Another handout available for you is to think about the culture and the context of the girl on fire. So those dystopian contexts that are cultural, institutional, and structural. The more human side, those themes of adolescence and coming of age, and the different overlapping genres with YA dystopian lit. So many of these books are YA dystopia, as well as romance, fantasy, science fiction, horror, speculative fiction, or action and adventure. So we'll be exploring all of these themes through our books and assignments, and they're themes that are really important to this genre of YA dystopia. And the third and final part of this video series, we'll be looking more closely at the actual books that we'll be reading in class and the assignments that you'll be doing as we consider this really rich, exciting, and interesting field of YA dystopia and the girls on fire.